As he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" "Neither this man nor his parents sinned," said Jesus, "but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." After saying this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. "Go," he told him, "wash in the pool of Siloam." This word means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing.
His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, "Isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg?" Some claimed that he was. Others said, "No, he only looks like him." But he himself insisted, "I am the man." "How then were your eyes opened?" they asked. He replied, "The man they called Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash, so I went and washed, and then I could see." "Where is this man?" they asked him. "I don't know," he said. They brought to the Pharisees the man who had been born blind. Now the day on which Jesus had made the mud and opened the man's eyes was a Sabbath. Therefore the Pharisees also asked him how he had received his sight. "He made mud on my eyes. He put mud on my eyes," the man replied, "and I washed, and now I see." Some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath." But others asked, "How can a sinner perform such signs?" So they were divided. Then they turned again to the blind man. "What have you to say about him? With your eyes he opened." The man replied, "He is a prophet." They still did not believe that he had been blind and had received his sight until they sent for the man's parents. "Is this your son?" they asked. "Is this the one you say was born blind? How is it that now he can see?" "We know he is our son," the parents answered, "and we know he was born blind. But how he can see now or who opened his eyes, we don't know. Ask him. He is of age, he will speak for himself." His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders, who already had decided that anyone who acknowledged that Jesus was the Messiah would be put out of the synagogue. That was why his parents said, "He is of age, ask him." A second time they summoned the man who had been born blind. "Give glory to God by telling the truth," they said. "We know this man is a sinner." He replied, "Whether he is a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know, I was born blind, but now I see." Then they asked him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered, "I have told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples too?" Then they hurled insults at him and said, "You are this fellow's disciple. We are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses. But as for this fellow, we don't even know where he comes from." The man answered, "Now this is remarkable. You don't know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners. He listens to the godly person who does his will. Nobody has ever heard of opening the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing." To this they replied, "You were steeped in sin at birth. How dare you lecture us?" And they threw him out.
Jesus heard that they had thrown him out, and when he found him, he said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" "Who is he, sir?" the man asked. "Tell me, so that I may believe in him." Jesus said, "You have now seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you." Then the man said, "Lord, I believe," and he worshipped him. Jesus said, "For judgment I have come into this world, so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind." Some Pharisees who were with him heard him say this and asked, "What? Are we blind too?" Jesus said, "If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains."
Hi everyone. You've been sitting down for a while. Would you like to have a stretch? You can have a stretch. Someone, go on, lead by example. Yeah, thank you. Shake it out. Do whatever you need to do so you can kind of lock in and we can look at God's word together. There's a toilet over there. If you need a glass of water. It's important to get to look at God's word, and it's an all-body thing that you think about, as we use our ears, our brains. Anyway, hope that gave you a chance to sort of shake it out if you need to. All right, something controversial. Let's start with something controversial. Blue Mountain's got some new trains. Love them? Hate them? Couldn't care less? The non-commuters around the place. Look, I don't catch them very much. I don't mind them. I don't really care too much. Personally, I've been on far worse. We're talking about David in missionary service. My parents were in missionary work. I grew up in the subcontinent, and occasionally we would take a multi-day or couple-of-day train trip from the south of the country to the north of the country. Great fun as a kid to zoom along and have the adventure. And it's this memorable kind of times. You go to the bathroom and you can see the tracks going through the hole in the floor. One thing I remember this story at least. We were pulled up at a station. I don't know where we were, but my dad and some of the kids were invited up to the driver's compartment between stops, I think. So we got to go meet the driver, and we're in the front of the train as it's zooming along in the middle of nowhere. And there's this younger guy that my dad was talking to, having a chat about stuff. I don't know what they're talking about, but occasionally the younger guy would lean over to the train driver, and say something like, "Yes, sir," or "Right, sir," or "Okay, sir." And after a while, doing this a few times, my dad asked him, I said, what are you saying to the driver? What is it that you're saying? And the guy says, well, look, the driver's is pretty old now. He's due for retirement. Can't see so well. So I tell him when the signal's clear to keep going. I was a kid, I didn't care, but looking back, it's a little concerning, isn't it? Next time you're complaining about the Blue Mountains trains. It's not so bad. But zooming along with a guy who can't see, when he's controlling your trajectory and your speed and all those things, it's a pretty scary thing. And you think about it, in life, when you, if you're the person losing your sight, that could be a scary thing. Maybe for this man, he's worried about losing his job or what that entailed. But generally, we like to be able to see where we're going. I think personally, I take my eyesight for granted. I've never needed, I shouldn't say these things, but I haven't yet needed things like glasses or that kind of thing. And in today's world, there's glasses, there's laser surgeries, contact lenses, all kinds of things that can help with eyesight. Although I reckon, and again I won't survey, but I reckon there's some of us here today that if we'd lived a couple of thousand years ago without that technology, we would essentially have a disability, wouldn't we? We wouldn't be able to do life because you couldn't see, you couldn't do what you needed to do. And so maybe it was a bit more common then that this is debilitating in a sense. But the idea of losing your sight, it's a scary thing. People often rank that a higher fear than even dying. And for those that have lived with good sight, it's kind of hard to get into the shoes of this man that we meet in this story today, who's never ever been able to see. That's something that it's hard to wrap our heads around what that would actually entail. I find that a terrifying thing. Light going out, living in the darkness. And so we're looking at these stories of Jesus, and today particularly we see this story with blindness and sight and light and darkness. And as we might fear things like losing our sight or other things, we see fear driving people's decisions in this story today. We see blind drivers who think they can see. And of course, we need to be called we're called to be those who admit our own blindness and need help and accept the offer of light. Now, we've jumped forward in the story a bit. Last week we were in John chapter 6, We've jumped forward to John chapter 9. And in between, there's been a festival. Jesus done a lot of speaking and talking. Read it, chapters sort of 5 to 8. And part of this story, Jesus has been at this festival of tabernacles. And this festival, they're remembering their time in the wilderness, living in tents or tabernacles, and that time where they came out of Egypt towards the promised land. There's a bit in the festival where you light everything up. There's kind of lamps and lanterns, and it's remembering the pillar of fire that was God's presence with his people in Exodus stories. And Jesus, as part of that festival, gets up at one point and says, I am the light of the world. Gets up and claims that as part of his teaching. One of those moments like last week, I'm the bread of life. He's claiming that I am, that godly kind of title. He's saying, like God is with his people in the flame in the desert, I am with you now, I am God among you. One of those big claims that Jesus makes. And he makes a big claim, there's a big reaction. Last week, lots of his disciples left. You can't be bread, we can't eat you. And this week, this time, after this claim, we didn't read it, but they start to plot his death. They think this guy can't go around saying these things. We have to get rid of him. And so there he was in the center of worship in the temple, surrounded by people who meant to be kind of accepting him, but they reject him. And then as he walks away from people who think they know the truth, he meets someone who knows that they're in trouble. Someone who knows that they don't have it all together. Someone who needs help. There's the blind man that we meet sitting outside the temple. Often people with these kinds of disabilities are excluded from being in the temple, in the celebrations. He sits outside, separated. And the disciples see him and don't talk to him, they talk about him. They ask a question to Jesus. Teacher, why is this man blind? Is it a punishment for his sins? Is it a punishment for his parents' sins? We could spend a lot of time talking about this. We have this kind of human assumption that good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. And we have this kind of sanitized Western version of karma. Get what you deserve or get what you put in, which is really quite hollow and cruel if you think about it, what it actually means. But I don't have much time to think about that, but we just realise that it's quite a human thing. Oh, why does he deserve this? Is it his fault? Is it his parents' fault? And Jesus says, no one's fault, but in this broken and dark world, you're about to see the glory of God shining in. That's what I do. That's what I bring. Now, we'll get to that miracle moment in just a minute, but before we do, one last little bit of context. Remember chapter 1 of John, the first lines of John chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and there's that in him was life and light, and that was all a big echo of the creation story. So have creation, light, life in your mind as you watch Jesus do this thing. He says in verse 5, he says, while I'm in this world, I am the light of the world. Makes that claim again. After saying this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. Go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. This word means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. Now, we're just not going to deal with the weirdness of spit and mud on your eyes, but if you can kind of get past that, what creation echo do you hear in that moment? You've got creation on the mind, you see this happen, what do you see? You remember that God made the people from the dirt, from the ground, and so here's Jesus doing a God thing, taking dirt with kind of water, I suppose, what was available, and bringing light and bringing life to this person. He tells them to go to Siloam. It's a pool down kind of in the lowest part of the city, and so this guy with like spit, mud encrusted eyes makes his way to the pool. I don't quite know how, if someone helps him or not. But he kind of stumbles down to this place, washes, and in that moment goes from darkness to light, never seeing anything, to being able to see that, people's faces and trees and, the sky in his own hand. I don't know if you can kind of imagine that moment, what that would be like. I mean, looking up the hill, seeing the temple, the place where he sat for so long but never went inside. It just must have been an amazing moment. And it's just covered in a couple of sentences here, but just try and put yourself in his shoes. I mean, I guess he's never run in his life before, because if you can't run in the dark. But I wonder if he had the strength to run back up this hill, to find this person who healed him, to go to his home and to his family and to his community and celebrate this joy that he must have in having found life and found his sight. But as he goes back, he doesn't find Jesus straight away, and it seems that no one's that excited about it. No one is celebrating. They have more questions than they have joy at this moment. And a crowd has gathered, and kind of ironically, as soon as this man can see, no one else can quite believe their eyes or trust their eyes. His neighbours and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, "Isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg?" You'd think they could recognise him. Some claimed he was, others said, "No, he only looks like him." But he himself insisted, "I am the man." See, notice again that struggle to talk to him directly. He's been a problem, not a person, for so long. But they finally confront him. They ask him, "Well, how then? How then were your eyes opened?" He tells the story of Jesus and the mud and the washing. Doesn't know where he is, though. Okay, great, let's celebrate. No celebration. Need to investigate this further. They brought to the Pharisees the man who'd been born blind. And it had been the Sabbath, of course, when this all happened. The Pharisees asked him how he received his sight. He put mud on my eyes, the man replied. I washed and now I see. Some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath." But others asked, "How can a sinner perform such signs?" So they were divided. So you can see people are having trouble to see, aren't they? I mean, the Pharisees, they're confronted with this amazing event, a man born blind, but now you can see that hasn't been done before. This is a wow moment. You kind of think, let's celebrate this amazing thing. How did it happen? Well, a guy mixed some mud. Now, hang on a second. Mixing mud? That's like work. Can't work, it's the Sabbath. You know what day it is, don't you? Can't work on the Sabbath. This guy, therefore, can't be from God. And you see him weighing it up, right? Miraculous healing versus work on the Sabbath. You can't work on the Sabbath. Everyone knows that. That's our culture. That's our belief. How could a sinner do this thing? They can't figure it out. They put it back on the guy who'd been healed. Who is this guy that healed you? They ask. And he says, well, he must be a prophet, must be from God. I mean, maybe he's even he, in his uneducated kind of exclusion, has heard the prophecies of Isaiah, the things that say, there'll be someone who comes who opens the eyes of the blind and opens the deaf people's ears and heals the lame. And this is what we're hoping for and waiting for. Surely this man is from God. I don't know about that. Let's ask your parents. Maybe someone's on a switcheroo here. Maybe it's a different person. Let's ask people who know. They say, "Is this your son, the one that born blind? How is it he can see?" "We know he's our son," the parents answered. "We know he was born blind, but now he can see. But how he can see or who opened his eyes, we don't know. Ask him. He's of age. He will speak for himself." Oh, great. Give the guys some responsibility. That's what they're doing here. No, they're just scared. His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders who had already decided that anyone who acknowledged Jesus was the Messiah would be put out of the synagogue. I mean, the poor parents, right? Like, they've had this son for years and years not being able to see, and this moment where they could, have a party and celebrate this good thing, they can't rejoice in this for fear of being booted out of their society, their community. I mean, they may have already been on shaky ground, right? People think, who sinned that this happened, you or your parents? Well, they're already in the firing line for being to blame for all this. No, sorry, son, you are on your own for this one. Again, they summoned the man who'd been born blind. "Give glory to God. Tell the truth. We know he's a sinner." He replied, "Whether he's a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know, I was blind, but now I see." They asked him, what did he do to you? And they go through it all again. Do you want to be his disciples as well? And then if you can't beat them, you insult them. Then they heard insults at him and said, you are this fellow's disciple. We are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but as for this fellow, we don't even know where he comes from. The man answered, now that is remarkable. You don't know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners. He listens to the godly person who does his will. Nobody has ever heard of opening the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. See how far this uneducated, excluded blind man has come? He's theologically lecturing the teachers of the day. This is what God does. This is how he acts. If he weren't from God, he couldn't do anything. They replied, you are steeped in sin at birth. How dare you lecture us? And they threw him out. If you can't beat them in an argument, insult them, flatter yourself, and get rid of them. Poor guy, what evidence does he have? Look, I couldn't see, and now I can see. That's all I know. And the Jesus guy was involved. Is Jesus a sinner? What's Moses got to do with it? I don't know. It hasn't happened before. It's kind of like the people can't see what's in front of them. The blind man's been healed and no one can see it, or the good of it. If it wasn't kind of so tragic, it would be almost funny. It'd be like a Monty Python sketch where there's like an enormous thing and no one can see it and it's right there. I looked it up, I couldn't find the actual sketch, but I'm sure something exists. It's like the emperor that has no clothes. No one can tell the truth about what's happening in front. My mind went to this famous cartoon. I can't see what's going on. Everything is fine. No, can't you see what's going on in front of you? Now, I think it's worth kind of slowing down for a minute and asking why. Are these guys dumb? Are they stupid? No, these are the Pharisees. They're highly intelligent. They're educated. They probably make great decisions in many ways about life and all these things. Why can't they see? Why can't the parents rejoice in this? What is it? There's just, I'll give you, actually, your turn to do some work. If you can give me one word, give someone next to you one word, what do you think this boils down to? Why do you think they can't see? What is it for them and for the parents? You've got about 10 seconds, only one word. Tell someone next to you what's the word you might think is going on here. All right, shouldn't take too long to say one word. Okay, have me give you one. Give me a word. What do you think is going on here? Defending my culture. Yep, there's a lot of that. Pride. Arrogance. Perception. Misperception. Yeah. Fear. Adrian. Yeah. Dogma. Fear. Dogma. Yeah, all these things link in. And I'm going to give the prize to Adrian for getting my word. But I think all these are part of it. I think 100% that's all right. In some ways, it boils down to what have we got to lose? My culture that I've had forever, the things that I've believed forever. I can't remember the other words we said, but pride. What have I got to? What am I going to lose if I can accept this thing? And the reason I kind of go with this word. We'll get nerdy. The Augustine, one of the church fathers, kind of defined fear like this. He said, fear is the feeling that you have when something you love might get taken away from you, or you might never get the thing that you desire. Fear is the thing when you're going to lose the thing that you love, or not get the thing that you love or desire. I hope that's a bit more clearer than how he said it, but you get the idea. Fear comes from what we love, and losing what we love. And so let's think about that. The parents and the crowds, their identity, they're kind of rooted in their culture, their community. They're part of the whole. And so if this is threatened, you're going to kick me out of the synagogue, I can't accept what's going on. I can't make a stand because I can't lose that which I love. And we have the same kind of thing. We have the same loves ourselves. We love our families and our communities and our standing, all those kinds of things, and we fear losing that. And sometimes when we come to Jesus, that's something we fear. If I say yes to Jesus and yes to his power and what he's done, what will I lose? What will my family think? What will others think about? What will happen if I let Jesus into this part of my life? I might lose something that I love. And the Pharisees, their culture, their dogma, their pride, their status, all these things they could lose if they accepted Jesus to be the Christ, to be the Messiah. Their power, their control, their security, their self-assurance, their self-importance. They're not bad guys, right? They love the law. They want to follow God's law really well. They love their kind of Moses heritage. They love the temple. They love their nation. Maybe they even love their communities, although we don't see it played out for this particular man. But Jesus comes in and challenges all these things they love. He challenges their authority. He says, actually, you've got it wrong about a bunch of things. You've missed the point about a bunch of things, about the law and about Moses and the temple and the nation. And, as people listen to him, they might lose their influence. They might fear the Roman authorities punishing a next rebellion or uprising. They don't want to go there again. You fear losing what you love, and so you can't see. And again, for us, for our hearts, we have those things too. Sometimes we choose blindness as well. What do we love? We love feeling that we're better than someone else. We don't say it like that, but we like feeling that. We don't like our own faults being made known. We love our positions of honour and power and in our families and workplaces and communities and churches. We like being looked up to. We like being significant. I know this in my heart. I'm sure it's there in yours as well. And you might not think it, but you'll notice it when someone compliments you or forgets to compliment you or doesn't say thank you or gives credit to someone else for something you've done. We love those things. We love being able to look in the mirror and going, yes, I like what I see and I have respect in myself and all these things. And sometimes if we want to be honest and let the light of Jesus shine in on us, that we can fear losing those things. We can fear this. Our loves and our fears put us in the same danger as the parents in this story, as the Pharisees. We are those that can choose blindness. All kinds of rubbish clogs our hearts, and we can close our eyes to Jesus. Block him out of the bits of our lives that we don't want him in. We prefer darkness to light. That's what the Pharisees did. That's what we do. In some ways, we kind of fear the light of Jesus because we're worried about what it might show us. Jesus challenges that. If we listen to Jesus, he will reveal the darkness in our hearts. He'll reveal our blindness, the bits we don't want to see and don't want others to see too. But in this, Jesus says, I've come to bring light. I've come to bring life. And what I have is good. What I have is better than being in the dark. David before talked about preaching in the Solomon, saying, here's the good guy, here's the bad guy in the story. And we could stop there and go, be like the blind man and listen to Jesus. Don't be like the Pharisees who ignore him. But the truth is, if I said be like the blind man, do you have any chance of doing that? I mean, how did the blind man go through the story? Someone else brought him sight. He didn't make himself able to see. He responded, but it wasn't his power. And similarly, if we're in the dark, we need help to see. We need Jesus to do this for us. We'll see again how it happened for the blind man in the story. Jesus heard they'd thrown him out, and when they found him, he said, do you believe in the Son of Man? Who is he, sir? The man asked. Tell me so I may believe in him. Jesus said, you have seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you. The man said, Lord, I believe, and he worshipped him. So he sees, and he believes, and he responds in worship. You see, he's not just a prophet, kind of a guy with teaching or a message, but my Lord and my King. And that's the right response to Jesus when you see him. My Lord, my King, King of my heart. And this King, he says, comes in judgment. For I've come into this world so the blind will see, and those who see will become blind. Some Pharisees who were with him heard him say this and asked, what, are we blind too? Jesus said, if you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin, but now that you claim to see, your guilt remains. Jesus comes into the world for judgment so the blind can see, and those who think they can see, those who say they're not blind, will be shown to be blind. This thing that we're judged on before this judge is how we see Jesus. Remember the other week, what is the work God requires? That we believe in his Son, that we really see him. But again, can we do this for ourselves? No, we can't. Any more than the blind man can heal himself. We need Jesus to do it for us. And the great news is we kind of keep reading the story of Jesus and we look forward, and what do we see? We see Jesus, this light of the world, walk into darkness. We see that this one who is life submit to death. The one who is judge submit to judgment. Judgment in our place, in the place of those who've closed their eyes, who've loved the wrong things, who've feared the wrong things, people like us. The one who sees most clearly, Jesus, will suffer the punishment in the place of those who've closed their eyes to him. Jesus, the light that brings life, will step into darkness and death in the place of those who deserve it, walking the path of the blind to bring us sight. That we can be rescued from the darkness of death. We can have the weight of sin and rebellion lifted from our shoulders and dealt with by him. So yes, in a sense, yes, you need to open your eyes to Jesus. You need to let him in to your life, but it's not you that does it. It's not you that kind of makes this happen in your life. He says, here's the light, here's the gift. I want to come in, I want to deal with the darkness, I want to bring life and light. You need to accept that and say yes. This gift is available to everyone except one kind of person. This gift of light and life is available to everyone except one kind of person, the person who says, no, I don't need it. I don't need the gift. I don't need the light. I'm not blind. I can see just fine. Thank you very much. I don't need Jesus. And Jesus says, if you refuse the healer, there's no healing left. We've got such good news. We know the darkness of our world. We know the darkness of our hearts, if we're honest about it. But we know the one who is the light of the world. The one who's gone through darkness and death so that we don't have to. Who calls us to open our eyes and see him clearly. Who says, if you let me in, I will do some work. I'll rearrange what you love. I will rearrange, therefore, what you fear. I can do that work in you. I'm going to pray that God would work in our hearts in his light with his life, that we'll know his love, we'll love him in return, that his perfect love will drive out our fear.